Welcome back. Hundreds of activists, survivors, policymakers, and artists have been meeting in Vienna, Austria since Sunday for the 19th annual HIV/AIDS conference. Gael's very own Regan de Wiens is in Austria taking part in the conference, and we spoke with him today to get this update.
At the conference this week thus far, a lot of Caribbean leaders have come together on the need to maintain the fund that is there to deal and to assist persons living with HIV and AIDS. So this clip you're about to see is from Leroy Adolphus from CMC News in Barbados.
The Turks and Caicos Islands National AIDS Program Coordinator Aldo Robinson says the creation of a health services facility, particularly geared towards young people, is in progress. She says this program will assist the young people in dealing with HIV/AIDS related issues. One of the many challenges raised at the conference is that of the lack of access to care and treatment by young people living with HIV/AIDS in Africa and certain parts of Eastern Europe. But Robinson says this is not a problem for the Turks and Caicos Islands.
We are one of the leading Caribbean countries as far as treatment and care is concerned. We offer free testing and counseling and treatment. So I'm saying that we are well on our way. It's just that we need to combat stigma and discrimination. And the theme for this conference is Human Rights Now, and that is what I feel we need to do within the Turks and Caicos. We need to focus on human rights and allow persons with HIV to be able to step forward and say that they are HIV positive in order to access services, also to get counseling, treatment and care. People with HIV and AIDS are just like us, ordinary people who want to gain from society and have rights.
It's rainy season again, so dengue is once again a big concern. As Jomo Williams poses the question tonight, who is truly responsible for our dengue readiness anyway?
It may not seem like it to the man on the street, but we are at war. This is a war that we have fought many times before against an enemy very familiar to us. A war that, if we lose, could spell certain doom for many of our citizens. Already there have been many fatalities, and continued inaction on the part of us all will only make the numbers rise. While the government has its role to play if we are to minimize the threat posed by dengue, the onus is on us, the citizens in our various communities, to mount a collective response to the mosquito menace. The local government, rather than the national arm of the state, is primarily charged to deploy the men, women, and machines required to control, if not eradicate, the mosquito population that has reportedly already killed dozens in the Caribbean. However, if at the level of the communities, householders resolve to keep their surroundings clean and act on that resolve, local action will add up to a huge plus. Responsible behavior in the instant matter will be further evidence that Trinidadians and Tobagonians have matured enough to take control of their lives at the local level and stop waiting for and blaming everything on the government.
In tonight's Science, Health and Technology segment, we take a look at how scientists plan to revamp the way that we fight the flu.
This is a great story. New technology being developed to administer flu vaccines, which could put an end to the dreaded injections. The potential significance of this technique goes much further than avoiding an uncomfortable jab. The new vaccination patches could make life-saving healthcare available for the first time for millions of people in the developing world. The patch has 100 microneedles on its surface, each of the needles just over 0.5 millimeter long. But when they penetrate the skin, they dissolve. Researchers have been loading these needles with influenza vaccine, testing them on mice. So far, the results have been encouraging. The patch is more effective than using the standard needle technique. And as the tests go on, researchers hope people will eventually be able to vaccinate themselves. How's that? This will make the vaccines more accessible for those most at risk in poorer countries. And not just against flu we're talking here. Researchers hope the technology could one day be used to protect people from a range of other illnesses. Mark Prausnitz is a professor at the Georgia Institute of Technology. He's the leading researcher on this project, and he says the skin patch could eventually help wipe out some fatal diseases.
Well, our hope is that this influenza vaccine patch will enable more people to become vaccinated, not only because we get rid of the hypodermic needle, which many, if not most people, dislike, but also because we hope this will enable people to administer the patch to themselves That is, not have to go to the clinic to see a doctor, but rather could go to the pharmacy or even get this patch in the mail. The skin on our bodies is a good barrier. Things don't normally absorb into the skin very well, and that's why a hypodermic needle has to be used. So what we have done is we've made very small needles, microscopically small needles, that can pierce into the skin and in that way allow the vaccine to enter the body, but they're so small that you can barely see them, you can barely feel them, and what we're finding is that the technology seems to apply fairly broadly to different vaccines. So we're optimistic that the flu vaccine will be the first of what could be many different vaccines given this way. One of our large interests is for the measles vaccine and the polio vaccine, both of which organizations like the World Health Organization are trying to eliminate from the world.
Now, even though it sounds enticing, the reality is that until it's approved, vitamins will be our option for a while. So don't stop using your normal remedies just yet. Moving on, the Soca Warriors have something to celebrate, and so does Trinbago. Joma Williams brings us the highlights of last night's match against Antigua Barbuda.
After last night's encounter with Antigua and Barbuda at the Marvin Lee Stadium, head coach Russell Latapy must be riding high. His all-local Soca Warriors outfit having proven themselves worthy of the faith he had placed in them by defeating their opponents by a convincing 4-1 margin. The win carried TNT's record against the Antigua Barbuda boys to a resounding 10-for-10 encounters, outscoring their opponents 35-10. The 129th FIFA-ranked Antigua and Barbuda's only win against TNT came in 2005, a meager 2-1 during the successful Road to Germany campaign. The matchup was being used by both teams as part of their preparations for the Digicel Caribbean Championship qualifiers, which begin next month, and it was very evident that both coaches were not about to let the chance go to waste. However, Latapy's boys, despite making 6 substitutions in the contest, one more than their counterparts, never really seemed troubled by the visitors. Striker Kevon Carter, who has been in good form for his club Team Defence Force in the Digicel Pro League with 5 goals this season, opened the scoring in the 10th minute and added his second in the 31st minute. The second item came when Carter set up Soca Warriors captain Kerry Batiste in the 18th minute. Carter contributing all around to send the Warriors into the halftime interval on a 3-1 cushion. While in the second half, Devon Jostling, the leading scorer in the Pro League, made it 4-1 in the 67th minute. Second half substitute Jason Macano almost made it 5-1 in the 78th minute, but his effort came off the post. The lone goal for Antigua and Barbuda came in the 30th minute from striker Akeem Thomas. The Soca Warriors' next clash with Caribbean rivals Jamaica on August 11th. I, for one, am looking forward to a keener match, but with similar results. This is Joma Williams for WE News.
Stay with us because when we return, Erotic Art Week opens in Trinidad.